This conference will now be recorded.
Fine, guys. Let us start the session. Let me go and open the yesterday's class notepad. In yesterday's class, we start discussing about what? We start discussing about the validations. So let me go and open the class notes. Let me go and open the class notes. In yesterday's class, we started discussing about the validations. Let me go and open it. Let me go to the class notes. Let me go and open the validations. Now see, we are discussing about the validations. In yesterday's class, we discussed about the field validations. Guys. In yesterday's class, we discussed about what? We discussed about the field validations. And now in today's session, we are going to discuss about the form validations. Now see, what is this form validations and how to go and perform this form validations we'll discuss now in today's session. So in today's session, we are going to discuss about what? We are going to discuss about the form validations. So before going to discuss this, let me go and open the Power Apps. Let me go and open the Power Apps. Let me go to the web browser and keep here make.powerapps.com. Let me go and open this web browser. Now see, let me go and open the app. Go to the apps, go to the apps tab. From here you can go and open the app. Now let me go and open the app called validations. Now currently we are working with the validations. Now just go and click on it, guys. Click on edit. Now I'm going to open that app. Let it open. Fine. Now see, in yesterday's class we discussed about the field validations. So what type of validations we discussed in yesterday's class? How to make the fields as required we discussed, and also we discussed about how to go and do some validations, how to make the mobile number as must and should be mobile number must and should be 10 digits, mobile number must and should be 10 digits, and also whatever the email you are going to enter, it need to have some email format, it need to match with the email. And also the employee number, the name start employee number, first two character must and should be, first two values must and should be characters, and next four values must and should be numerics. And also one more validation we discussed about age must and should be greater than 25, greater than 25. If it is less than 25, it will throw an error. What is that error message? Age must and should be 25 to 50. So if I keep here 30, now I don't get any error message. So these are called as field validations, guys. So we discussed about this field validations in the yesterday's class. And now in today's session, we are going to discuss about what? We are going to discuss about the form validations. Now see, what is this form validations? Now see, this is my form, guys. Now if you see, this is my form. Now I need to go and perform some validations on this form now. Now how to go and perform the form validations? So in order to go and perform the form validations, first of all, let me go and add some screens here, guys. This is the first screen. Let me go and change this name, screen name. I want to change the screen name to form screen, guys. Now how to change it? Just double click on it and let me rename it to, what? Form screen. Next, I need to go and add one more screen here, guys. Let me go and add one more screen. Let me go and add the screens. Go to the screens, new screen, and let me go and click on what? Blank screen. Let me add one screen here. Now move this. I want to keep this screen as a first screen. So go and click on move up. So let me keep it as welcome screen, guys. Let me keep it as welcome screen. Now see, in the welcome screen, I want to keep one button. The button name I want to keep is enter data. Now whenever I click on this button enter data, let's say I'm going to keep one button. The button text I'm keeping here is enter data. Now, whenever I click on this button, I need to navigate to the form screen, guys. Whenever I select this button, I want to navigate to the form screen. So go to the welcome screen. Here, let me go and add one button. Let me go and add one control. Copy it, go to the insert tab, add one button control, keep it anywhere, keep it here. And let me do one thing. Let me change the font. Uh, let me change the text, default text, not the font. Let me change the text to enter data. Enter data. And also let me go and change the font. And let me keep it font size as 20. Fine. This is the button I'm keeping here. So now see on select of this button. Whenever I click on this button, I want to navigate to which screen? I want to navigate to the form screen. Now tell me how to go and navigate from one screen to another screen. What is the function you need to go and use to navigate from one screen to another screen? Which function is used to navigate from one screen to another screen? Yes, online people.
On click.
On click.
On select.
Okay,
On
on select.
select.
Okay, function. I'm asking about the function. On select. Okay,
Navigate.
I'm going to the on select button. So let me go. Let me go to
N-
this. Click the
Navigate.
button. Navigate. So I'm asking about the function. Go to the on select. Now here, what I want to write. I need to go and use one
Navigate.
function that is navigate. So this is property. This is not a function. This is the property. Now I'm asking about the function. So let me go and use the function what? Navigate. I want to navigate to which screen? Form screen. Now see, before going to navigate to the form screen, whatever the form is there in this form screen, in the form screen I'm having on form right, I want to make this form as a new form. So go to this welcome screen, select the button, enter data. Now before going to navigate to the form screen, what I want to do here is I want to make the form as a new form, guys. I want to make that form, whatever the form is there, I want to make it as a new form. New form is the function I'm using here. Which form I want to make it as new? I want to make the form 1. What is the name of this form? If you see, the name of this form is form 1. I want to make this form as a new form. So try to understand on select of this button, I want to make the form as a new form and then navigate to the form screen. Now just go and use the ampersand here. Keep comma. Now save it. Click on save. Now try to understand when I go and play this app. Now see when I go and click on this enter button, first what it need to do? It need to go and make this form as a new form, guys. Already we discussed this. There are different types of forms is there. What are the different types of forms are available? I said that there are 3 types of forms are available. One is new form. One is what? New form. Second is what? Edit form. And next one is what? View form. These are the different types of forms we are having. We'll discuss all these things in the coming classes, guys. For now, I want to make this form as what? I want to make the form as a new form. So on select of this button, what I'm doing first, go and make the form as a new form and then navigate to the form screen. Now see, when I go and click on this enter data, now it is navigating to the form screen. And also if you observe, the form is in which mode? The form is in the new form, guys. So if the form is in new form means I'm able to enter some data. And also see, it is keeping that the title as field validations. Let me change it to form validations, guys. Let me go and change the title to form validations. Let me go and change the title to what? Form validations. Fine. Now once if you go and click on this button, it is navigating the form screen, and also I'm making the form screen as new form. Now I need to go and perform some validations, guys. Now before going to perform the validations, what's my requirement here is I need to go and add one button here. I need to go and add one button. That button is submit button, guys. What is the name of that button? I want to keep that button name as submit. Now see, what is the use of the submit button is, once if I fill the data in the form, when I click on the submit button, this data, whatever the data I'm entering into this form, this data need to go and submit to where? data sources. What is my data source? What is the data source this form is connecting? SharePoint. In the SharePoint, what is the list? Employees. If you see, go to the SharePoint. Let me go and open the SharePoint here. Let me go to the SharePoint. Let me go to the site. What's my site? Forms. Now in this forms, I'm having one list. What's that list name? Employees. This is the list we are having here. This is the list name. Now see, whenever I fill the details in this form, I need to go and click on one button, submit button. When I click on the submit button, this data, whatever the data I'm entering into the form, this form need to go and submit to the what? Data sources. Now let me go and add one button here, guys. Go to the insert tab. Let me go and add one button here. Now let me go and keep the button here. Add the button. Let me change the button font. That means text. Let me go and change the text to submit. Once after changing it, let me go and change it to bold, or let me change it to semi bold. Let me increase the size to 20, and also let me keep it like this. Now this is the submit button. Now see, I'm adding one button here. I'm not performing any operations on this. Now see, on select of this button, what need to happen? I need to go and submit the data that is entered in the form to the data sources. So select the form and then go to the property. On select property by default is false. I want to use one function here. What's that function? To submit the form, I need to go and use one function called submit form. Which form I want to submit? I want to submit the form called form1. Now see, once if I submit the form, once if I click on the submit button, it is going to submit the form. Now once after submitting the form, what's my requirement here is, I need to go and let us say I want to go and navigate to another screen where I can show the success message case. Once if you enter the data, once after entering the data, if you click on the submit button, this data need to submit to the data sources. Once the data is submitted, I want to give one message, guys. I want to display some message, success message. So in order to go and keep the success message, let me go and add one more screen. Now go to the screens, click on blank screen. You can add the blank screens. You can go and add the blank screens, or go to the templates. Go to the templates. In the templates, there are some predefined templates are available. Now I want to add one template here. What is the template I want to add here? There is one template for success. So select the template called success case. Now see, automatically the screen is added. Let me change the screen name to success screen. Success screen. Now see, in the success screen, by default, I'm having one message. This is some tick mark. This was successfully completed. This is the success message. Now see, on select of this button, I want to submit that data to the data sources. Once after submitting the data, what I need to do? I need to go and navigate. I want to go and navigate to which screen? I want to navigate to the success screen. I want to navigate to which screen? Success screen. On select of this button, first submit the data. Once after submitting the data, go and navigate to the success screen. Now let me check, guys, whether this operation is working properly or not. Now let me go and check whether this operation is working properly or not. Now save it. Go to the welcome screen. Go to the first screen. Let me check the app is working properly or not. Now see, go and click on enter data. Now I'm opening the form. Now let me enter some data here, guys. Let's say I'm entering the data as employee name as AB 6701. Let me enter the name. Let's say I'm entering the name as Winky. Let me keep the job as a trainer. Let me keep some email ID. Let me enter the mobile number. Let me enter some mobile number. Let me select some date. So it is hire date, on which date the employee is joined. Let us select any random date, guys. Let me go and select any one of the random date. And age, let me keep the age as 13. Let me enter the salary. What the salary is? Let us say 50,000 is the salary. And department number, he is working 10th. And what's the department name is? Let us say the department name is development. And what's the justification? Just keep here, he is a trainer. And what's the experience? Let us say 4 years of experience. And what is the date of birth? Let me select some random date of birth, whatever the date of birth it is. Let me select one date. Now see, I'm entering some data. I'm entering some data in the form. Now see, once after entering the data, I need to go and click on what? Submit button. When I click on the submit button, what need to happen? This data need to go and submit to the data source. And also, I want to show one message to the user that the action whatever you are performing is completed successfully. Now see, before going to submit the form, in this list, employees list, I'm having any data? No, there is nothing. Now go to the Power Apps, click on the submit button, guys. Now see, when I click on the submit button, now it is giving one message. What's that message? Tick mark. This was successfully completed. So you successfully submitted the data. Now go to the form. That means go to the employees list. Just click on refresh it. Now see, the record is inserted or not? Yes. This is the employee ID, name, mobile number, email ID, what's the job, what's the hire date, what's the salary, what's the age, department number, department name, justification, years of experience, and what's the date of birth. So like this, I'm able to insert some data. Whenever I submit the data to the data sources, I'm able to display some message that is success message. I want to display some message called success message. Okay, fine, it is working perfectly. But now try to understand. Let me go to the first screen, guys. Let me go to the first screen, welcome screen. Go and play it now. Try to understand. When I click on the enter data, now I need to go and enter the details here, guys. Now say I'm entering the employee ID. Employee ID I'm entering here is the employee ID. Now I'm entering the job. Let me pass the job as a developer. Let me enter the email ID, whatever the email. Let me enter some random email ID. Let me pass the mobile number. I'm not passing the mobile number. Let me select any one of the date, that is hire date. Let me enter some age, 35. Let me enter some salary. Let us say 60,000 is the salary. Let's select the department number. Let me pass the department name as development department. Let me pass some justification. He is working as what? He is working as a developer. Just pass something. Experience is, let us say, 3 years of experience he is having. Now try to understand. Now I'm going to submit the data, guys. Now see, when I click on the submit button, now what need to happen? When I click on the submit button, what need to happen? I want to submit this data to the data sources, and also I want to get one message, success message. Now see, when I go and click on the submit button, yes, I'm getting the message is what? Success message. This was successfully completed. But see, when I go to the data source, when I go and click on refresh, the data is submitted. When I go and click on refresh, the data is submitted here. No, it is not submitted. Why? If you go to the Power Apps, let me go to the form screen. Currently I'm in the success screen. When I go to the form screen, now see, it is throwing some error messages. The form is not submitted. What is the error message it is throwing? This employee name is mandatory. I'm not passing the employee name. Mobile number is mandatory. I'm not passing the mobile number. So even though I'm not entering the, mandatory fields, when I click on the submit button, it is navigating to me where? When I click on the submit button, it is navigating to the success screen. It is not the correct way, guys. It is not correct. So when I need to go and show the success message, once when I go and display the success messages, once the form is submitted successfully, to the data sources, then only I want to display the success message. But here the form is submitted means no, the form has some errors. There are some required fields you need to enter. I'm not entering the required fields here. Now, how to go and perform this? How to overcome this problem? Without entering the mandatory fields, I don't want to allow the users to click on the submit button, guys. I don't want to allow the users navigate to the success screen. When I need to go and navigate to the user to the success screen means once if he is filling all the mandatory fields, then only I want to allow them to the success screen. So what I can do here is, so go to the submit button. On the submit button, I'm using one function here, right? Navigate function. So submit the form and then navigate to the success screen. Once after submit the form, go and navigate, I'm telling. But what this navigate function is doing here is, it is not checking whether the form is submitted or not. It is not checking that whether the form is submitted to the data source or not. Instead of going and checking directly, when I click on this button, directly it will navigate to the success screen. This is not my requirement. So what I can do here is just remove the navigate from function from here. Now go and select the form. Form has one property. The property is on success property, guys. Form has one property, on success property. Now go to the on success property. By default is false. Just remove it. Now I want to go and use the navigate function here, guys. Navigate to which screen? Success screen. So when I go and use the navigate function on the success property of the form, on the form. So when I am going to navigate to the success screen means once the form is submitted successfully, then only I am able to navigate to the form screen. Now see, let me go and check. Let me go and check. Now I am able to navigate to the form screen or not, or that is success screen or not, without filling these details. Now go to the welcome screen. Go to the first screen. Click on enter data. Just 1 second. Let me refresh it. Now go and play. Click on enter data. Yes. Now see guys, I'm going to enter some data. Let us say I'm entering the employee ID AB242378. This is the employee ID. Now I'm not entering the name and a mobile. I'm keeping it as blank. But this is the required fields. I'm entering the email ID. Let us say I'm entering some random email ID. Let me remove the mobile. Now see, these two are the mandatory fields, employee name and mobile. I'm not entering the details. Without entering the details, when I go and click on the submit button now, when I go and click on the submit button now, I think, now see, it is throwing the error. Now it is navigating to the success screen. No, it is not navigating to the success screen. When I click on the submit button, what is doing? It is throwing two errors. What are three errors? Name is mandatory, mobile number is mandatory. So when I want to go and navigate to the success screen means, when I need to go and navigate to the success screen is, once if you are filling all the mandatory fields, once if you are filling all the mandatory fields in the form, then only you are allowed to move to the success screen. So if you want, previously when I go and click on the submit button, it is navigating to which screen? Success screen. But now it is not navigating. Why? Previously I'm using the navigate function on the submit button, but now where I'm using the navigate function, form has one property. Form has one property, that is what? On success property. On the on success property, I'm using the navigate function. Once the form is submitted successfully, then only go and navigate to the success screen. If the form is not submitted successfully, then no need to go and navigate to the success screen. So this is what, how to go and navigate from one screen to how to go and show the success message once the form is submitted successfully. So this is what my first validation, guys. Success screen navigation. All the required fields are entered, then only navigate to the success screen. When I need to go and navigate to the success screen means, once if I enter all the mandatory fields, then only I want to navigate to success screen. Now see, I'm not entering the two mandatory fields. Let me go and enter the name. Let me enter the name as Smith. Let me enter some random mobile number. Let me enter some random mobile number. Now see, I'm entering all the mandatory fields, guys. If I'm entering all the mandatory fields, then there is no error. Now, when I go and click on the submit button, now it will navigate to the success screen. Now, if you go and check, that record is inserted. If you go and refresh the data, now see that new record is submitted. What's the name I entered? Smith is the name. So when I want to go and navigate to the success screen means, if the form is submitted successfully, if the form is submitted successfully, then only I want to navigate to the success screen. Otherwise, I don't want to navigate. If you go and use this navigate function on the submit button, it doesn't check whether the form is submitted successfully or not. It will simply navigate you to the success screen. So instead of going and using the navigate function on the submit button, go and use the navigate function where? On the success property of the form. And also, once if you submit the form successfully, once if you navigate to the success screen, here I want to display one pop-up, guys. I want to give one pop-up here. That what is the pop-up I want to display here is, the form is submitted successfully. So how to display the pop-up? Once if I click on the submit button, I want to give some pop-up to the I want to give some notification to the user. What is that notification is? I want to notify to the user that the form is submitted successfully. So I want to give some notifications. How to go and give the notifications to the users once the form is submitted successfully means, select the form and then go to the property success property. Go to the success property where it is. Go to the success property. First, what I want to do, once the form is submitted, navigate to the success screen. Once after navigating to the success screen, I want to give some notification, guys. I want to notify. So go and use one function called a notify function. Notify. I want to notify to the user. What you want to notify to the user? I want to notify to the user what the text you want to enter here is. Let me enter some text, guys. What the notification is? The form is submitted successfully. The form is submitted successfully. Once after entering the message, then keep comma. Now what you want to keep here? What type of notification it is? Whether this notification is a error notification, whether this notification type is information, the notification type is success or warning. Now tell me what type of notification I want to mention here. Once the form is submitted, I want to give some message, indication, success message. So go and select the notification type as what? Success. So go and select the notification type as what? Success. Now close it. Now see, save it and go and click on play. Now see, by default is edit mode, guys. Why? Because we're entering the data. Now go to the welcome screen, play, click on enter data. Now let me go and enter some data. Let me enter the name. Scott is the name. Let me enter some random email ID. Let me enter some mobile number, random mobile number. Now see, I'm entering all the mandatory fields. Now I'm going to click on the submit button. When I click on the submit button, now the data is going to be submitted to the data source. And also, if you observe, I'm navigating to the success screen. And also there is some notification here on the top. I'm notifying to the user. What's that notification? Success. So if you see here, green mark, guys, green tick. The form is submitted successfully. Now if you go and check, now see, the new record is submitted. Scott is the new record. New employee details I submitted here. So like this, once if you submit the form, if the form is submitted successfully, if you want to give some notification, go and use what? Go to the form and go to the success property. Here you can notify. Now see, if the form is not submitted, so if the form is not submitted, that means there is some error. So in this case also, I want to go and give one notification error, case. So there is one more property for this form. Select the form and go to the property. Select the property. The property is on failure. On failure. That means if the form is not submitted, if it is fails, then what I want to do? I want to give some other notification, case. Notify. What is the notification I want to keep? So let me keep the notification type. Let me keep here. What is the message I want to keep here is, please enter the mandatory fields. Let me go and mention here. Please fill the required or mandatory required fields. Please fill the required fields. This is the message I want to keep. This is the message I want to keep. And what is the message type? Now it is an error message, guys. Now if the form is not submitted, it means there is some error. So I want to give the notification type as what? Error. Now see, just click on save and go and play the app. Now go to the screen one, welcome screen. Now from here you can click on enter data. Now see, I'm not entering the employee number. I'm not going to enter the employee number. I'm entering the employee name, Finch. Let me enter some random mobile number. Let me enter some email ID. Let me enter some email ID. Now see, when I go and click on the submit button, it will submit the data sources. Means no, it doesn't submit. Why? I'm not entering the required field, one of the required field. Now see, when I click on submit button, now it is stating that employee number is required. And also now you are able to see one notification here. What's that notification? Please fill the required fields. So you are not filling the required fields, go and fill the required fields. Which field you are not filling? It is highlighting that employee number is the required field which is not filled. Now when I go and click on the employee number, when I fill the employee ID, now when I go and click on the submit, now see, the record is submitted. It is stating that this was successfully complete success screen. And also you are able to see one notification here, the form is submitted successfully. If you go to this, now if I go and click on refresh, the Finch employee details, this is the new record I submitted. So like this, we are able to perform some validations here, guys. So this is one type of validation. So this is one type of validation. And next one is second validation is, now see, last submitted record. That means display the last submitted record ID. Display the last submitted record ID in the success screen. Now see, whenever I click on the submit button, if the form is submitted successfully, I will be navigating to the success screen. In the success screen, here I want to display the last submitted, which employee details I submitted recently. That employee ID I want to display here. This is what my requirement. Last submitted employee details I want to display here, guys. So in order to go and perform it, select this control. This is a text control. Copy it, copy, paste it, and then keep it here. Now just go and remove this text. Go and remove this text. Now here what I want to keep here is EMP ID, employee ID. What is the ID? Let me go and use one function here in order to find out the last submitted records. So there is one function called form1. Form1. Let me go and use the concatenate. We need to use the concatenate function here. Use the concatenate. Form1 dot last submitted. There is one function called last submitted. Form1 dot last submitted. So whatever the record you submitted recently, from that record, what you want to find out? I want to select the employee number. Now see what is the last submitted record? This is the last submitted record. Now just do some formattings. Keep it in the bold. Increase some size. Fine. Now let me go and check whether this works properly or not. Now see, click on enter data. Let me enter the employee number as SS1234. Name is, let me keep it as Stark. Let me enter the email, stark@gmail.com. Let me enter some random mobile number. Now go and click on the submit button, guys. Now see when I click on the submit button, what is the employee ID I'm entering? SS1234. Now see when I click on submit, now the form is going to be submitted successfully. Now it is giving some notification. It is navigating to the success screen. In the success screen, I'm displaying that what is the newly submitted, what's the last submitted employee ID I'm able to capture here. Which employee ID or which employee details I submitted recently? I submitted the SS1234 is the ID of that employee. So if you want to display in the success screen, which recently, whatever the record you submitted, if you want to display that record details, you are able to display it here. So this is what my second validation is. And next one is third one, enable the submit button. Now if you see there is one button called submit button, guys. If you see, I'm having one button here in the form screen, submit button. I want to go and perform some validations on the submit button. Now try to understand what's my first validation is. Enable the submit button. I want to enable the submit button. When I want to enable it, enable the submit button after entering the data into the required fields. So when I want to enable the submit button means once if I enter the data into the required fields, then only I want to enable the submit button. Otherwise, I want to disable it. Now see what's my requirement here is currently this button is enabled, guys. I want to make it as disabled. Or when I want to make it, let's say I want to make it as enable. When I want to make it as enable means once if I fill all the mandatory fields, once if I go and fill all the mandatory fields in the form, these are mandatory fields. Mandatory, these values need to insert. So once if I enter all the mandatory fields, then only I want to make this button as enabled. Otherwise, I want to make this button as disabled. Now how to go and perform it? So go and select the button, submit button. The submit button will have one property, display mode. Go to the properties. Go to the properties. There is one property called display mode. If you see, there is one property called display mode. Go to the display mode property. Now see by default it is edit, guys. Display mode is what? Edit. Just remove it. Just remove it. Now I'm going to use one if condition here. I'm going to use one if condition. If form1, whatever the form, if form1, this is the form name. If form1 dot valid, if the form is valid, if the form is valid, then I want to display I want to make the display mode as edit. If this form is valid, when the form is valid, if you are entering all the required fields. So if the form is valid, then I want to make this button as edit. Otherwise, I want to go and make this button as disabled. Display mode dot disabled. So this is what my requirement here is. Simple. If you see, if form 1 is valid, if this form is valid, then only I want to make this button as edit. Display mode is edit. Otherwise, I want to make the display mode as what? Disabled. Now see, click on save. Now see, by default it is disabled, guys. Now when I go and play, let me go to the screen one. Go to the screen one. Go and play. Click on enter data. Now see, by default it is disabled, guys. Now the submit button is not enabled. You are not able to submit the data when this button is going to be enabled. Once if you go and fill all the mandatory fields, then only this button is going to be enabled. If you see, I'm filling some details here. SS, employee ID, and then employee name. Let me keep the employee name as ABD. Let me enter the email ID, abd@gmail.com. Next, mobile number. Let me enter some random mobile number. Now see, once after entering all the mandatory fields, now if I go and enter all the mandatory fields, now only the button is enabled. Now if you are not entering any one of the mandatory fields, now see, I'm not entering the email name, employee name, guys, not email, employee name. Now I'm not entering the employee name, it is mandatory field. Now see, the button is disabled. Now when I want to make this button as enabled, once if you are entering all the mandatory fields, then only this button is going to be enabled. Now see, the button is enabled. Now you can go and submit the data. Why? Because you have all the mandatory fields. So when I want to make this button as enabled means, once if the user is entering all the mandatory fields, then only I want to make this button as enabled. If you are not entering any one of the mandatory field, now see, I'm not entering the email. Now the button is not enabled, it is disabled. So let me go and keep here ABD. I'm entering the name as ABD. Now it is enabled. Now I can go and click on what? Submit. Now when I go and click on the submit button, now the record is going to be submitted. As usual, it is giving some message. Whatever the record is submitted, you are able to see that employee ID here. If you go to the form, you are able to see that newly submitted employee details here. What is the name of that employee submitted? ABD. This is the employee details we submitted. So I'm performing some validations here, guys. What is my validation here is, I don't want to allow the user by default go and click on the submit button. I want to make it as disabled. So if you go to this, enter data, now see, by default it is disabled. Why? Because he is not entering the mandatory fields. See, I'm entering the employee number, I'm entering the employee mobile number, I'm entering the employee, I'm not entering the email. Now see, I'm entering the name. Let us say the name I'm entering here is, let me keep it as Sunil. Now see, I'm entering only 3 mandatory fields. I'm not entering the email, so it is not enabled, it is disabled. So if you go and click on, if you try to click on it, is not, it will allow, it doesn't allow you to submit. So when it will allows, whenever if you enter all the mandatory fields, then only it will allow us to submit the data. Now see, the button is enabled. Now I can go and click on it. Now the record is submitted and you are able to see the success message here. So this is one type of validation case. So here what is this validation is? On submit button. And next there is another one more validation. Display the submit button if there is any error message in the data card. This is another type of validation case. Now see, display the submit button, not display, disable the submit button. When I want disable the submit button, if there is any error in the, if there is any error message in the data card. Now see, if there is any error message in the data card, if there is any error message, let's say, let me go to the screen one, enter data. Now see, if there is any error message also, now see, here I'm entering the employee number, I'm entering the employee name, I'm entering the mobile number, and I'm entering some email ID, some dummy values I'm entering. Now see, all the values I'm entering okay. employee number I'm inserting, employee name inserting, employee email, employee mobile number, all values I'm inserting. But is this is correct data? No, it is not correct data. It is throwing some errors. So if there is any error here, and also if you see age, if I enter the age as 20, now also it is throwing some error message. Even though if I have some errors, then I don't want to allow the users to submit. So whenever there is any error message in these fields, whenever there is any error message in the employee number, mobile number, email, and age, I want to make it as disabled. So I want to perform this operation, guys. If there is any error message, in the fields, I want to make this button as disabled. Otherwise, I want to make it as enabled. So this is what is the another type of validation, guys. So go to the button, go to the display property. But for now, let me keep it in the comment, guys. Go and keep it in the comment. Now, what I want to do here is, I'm going to write again one more if condition. So I'm going to validate the data now based on the error messages. Now see, if is not blank, let me keep here. If is blank, that means is not blank, guys. If it is not blank, which is not blank, the value, if there is no error message, so copy this, select the error message, copy the name, go to this and keep it here, .txt. Now see, if there is no error message, if it is not blank, what is not blank? Error message. In the same way, I want to go and do the same for email ID, mobile number, and also for the age. So what I can do, just go and copy the email data, email error message, copy the name, go to this submit button, go to the display property, or just go and keep or function here, guys. Or is not blank. Let me go and use it here again. Not is blank. What is not blank? If the email error message, if it is not blank, and also one more condition, or condition. What is another one more error message? Mobile number. This mobile number is also not blank. Let me go and copy this name of this error message. Go to this. Now copy, paste it here. Is not blank. What is not blank? Mobile number. Let me keep here .txt. If it is not blank, or there is one more error message. What is that? Age. So go and select the name of this error message. Copy the name of this error message. Control. Go to this. Keep here. Not is blank. If it is not blank, which is not blank? Age. Text. Now see here, guys. If is not blank, if it whatever the employee number error message is not blank, if the email id is error message is not blank, if the mobile number error message is not blank, or if the age error message is not blank, then what I want to do, then I need to go and make the button as disabled. If it is not blank means there is some error, so I want to make it as disabled, guys. Display mode dot disable. Otherwise, I want to make it as display mode dot edit. Now see, what I'm doing here is, if there is any error message in this control, these are called as controls, guys. Data card controls. What is this control? Error message control. If there is any error message in these controls, then I want to disable it. When I want to enable it, if there is no error message, then only I want to allow the user to submit. Now see, let's say I'm entering the proper employee number, guys. Let us say AB 9012. There is no error message. Now see, email ID. Let us say I'm entering the email ID as something. Let me enter some email ID. So email ID is also correct. Let me go and enter the mobile number. Let me keep the 10 digits. So now it is also, there is no error message. Now see, here I'm entering the proper age. Let's say the age is 30. Now see, there is no error message here. If there is no error message, then go and click on the submit button. Then only the submit button is enabled. If there is any error message is displaying, then see, the user is not able to go and submit the data. When the user is able to submit the data, if there is no any error message in the form, then only the user is able to submit the data. Now see, when I go and click on the submit button, what need to happen? Yes, someone please answer. When I go and click on the submit button, it will submit the data to the data sources, or it will throw an error. Now the submit button is enabled. When I go and click on the submit button, it will go and submit the data to the data sources, or it will throw an error.
No, it throws an error.
Yes, it will throw an error. Why?
E-name mandatory field is not
Yes,
being
here
entered.
then e-name is mandatory. So here I am not entering the e-name. Even though I am not entering the e-name, it is allowing the user to submit. If you see, when I go and click on submit, it is not submitting the data. It is throwing an error. Email is required. Please fill the mandatory fields, that is required fields. So when I want to go and enable this one is, if you see, if you go to the third validation here, okay, here the second validation I'm telling here is display the submit button when if there is any error message in the data card. Disable the submit button if there is any error message. If there is any error message in these data cards, then go and disable it. There is no error message. If you see, there is no error message, but I'm not entering the required field. So if you are not entering the required fields also, in this case also, I don't want to allow the user. So I want to make it as disabled. When I want to make it as disabled, if you are not entering the mandatory fields, I want to make it as disabled. And also if there is any error message, I want to make it as disabled. So I want to perform two operations now. So this is what my third one is. So what is third one is disable the submit button. When I want disable it, if there is any error message in the data card, disable the submit button if there is any error message in the data card, or disable the submit button if not filling the required field. If you are not filling the required field, or if there is any error message, then go and disable it. Otherwise, enable the submit button. So I'm performing here, go to the display mode. I'm performing here for what? Only for the error messages. I want to go and perform for what? For this required fields also. So what I can do, go and copy the employee name data card value, select the data card value, copy the name, go to the submit go to this display property. Now see, I need to go and add one more condition here, guys. I need to go and add one more conditions here. Or is blank. Which one is blank? If the e-name is blank, this is the employee name data card value. If the e-name is blank, or employee number data card value, if it is blank, if this one is also blank, copy the name, go here, is blank. If employee number is blank, the employee number is blank. Or what is another one more mandatory field? Email. So go and select the email data card. Select the data card value, copy the name, go to this display mode property, or is blank. Which one is blank? Email data card. If the email data card is blank, or there is one more required field is there. What is that? If this mobile data card value is blank. If the mobile data card value is blank. .txt. If it is blank, then only I want to allow the user to submit. Now try to understand, guys. If there is any error message in the employee number, email, mobile number, and age, I don't want to allow the user to submit. And also, if the user is not submitting the employee number, if the user is not filling the employee name, if the user is not filling the email, if the user is not filling the mobile number also, I don't want to allow them. When I want to allow the user to submit the data means if he is filling all the required fields, And also if there is no any error message in the form, then only I want to enable the submit button and I want to allow the user to submit it. So just click on save, go and play it now. Now see, I'm not able to submit it. Let me do one thing. Let me go to the first screen. Now play it. Click on enter data. Just 1 second. Let me go and refresh it. Sometimes it Power Apps doesn't work properly. Don't worry about it. I'm refreshing. Now go and play. Click on enter data. Now see, new form. Now try to understand, guys. By default it is disabled. Now when I can able to submit it, if I am entering all the mandatory fields, if you enter all the mandatory fields, let me keep the employee name something, some random name. Let me enter some random email ID. Let me enter some random mobile number and let me enter the age as 30. Now see, there is no any error message. There is no any error message, and also I'm filling all the mandatory fields. So it will allows us to submit. If there is any error message, let's say I'm entering the age as 20. Now see, it is throwing some error message. Now the user is not able to submit the data. So when the user is able to submit the data, if there is no error, and also user need to fill all the mandatory fields. Let us say I'm not filling the email. Now see, if I'm not filling the email, now also it is disabled. I'm not able to submit it. When I'm able to submit, I need to go and fill this mandatory field. Now I'm able to click on the submit. Now when I click on the submit, now it is submitted successfully. The form has been submitted to the data sources. Now see, if I go and click on refresh, now this is the data just now is submitted. This is the data just now I submitted. So these are the different types of form validations we are able to perform, guys. Now we discussed here 3 types of form validations. One is what? Once if you successfully submit the data to the data sources, then only go and navigate to the success screen. Otherwise, I don't want to navigate to the success screen. This is one type of validation. Next one is display mode, submit button. I want to enable the submit button. I want to allow the user to submit the data. I want to allow the user to click on the submit button when if he is filling all the required fields, and also if there is no any error message in the form, then only I want to allow the users to submit the data to the data sources. So these are called as form validations, guys. So if the form is valid, then only I want to allow the users to submit. If the form is not valid, I don't want to allow the users to submit the data. I want to disable it. When I want to disable it, if the form is not valid, I want to enable the submit button. When I want to enable the submit button, if the form is valid, I want to enable the submit button. So this is about what is meant by this form validations, guys. So we discussed about 2 types of validations. One is field validations and second is what? Form validations. In the next class, we'll discuss about form customizations, guys. So there are some you can perform some customizations on the form. So what are the different types of customizations we are able to perform? We'll discuss those in the tomorrow's class.